You are listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. I'm Kyle Bryan.
And I'm Sean Baumstark. Together, we're navigating life with disability.
Sean and I were both diagnosed with a rare, debilitating, life-shortening disease that has affected our physical abilities and causes us to live with urgency. We are constantly looking for the next challenge, not only in spite of our disease, but because of it.
We are two dudes who constantly challenge our own abilities, and we invite you to do the same. All right, here we are. Welcome back. What's up, guys? Hey, Kyle.
What's going on? How's it going today, Sean?
Not bad at all, man. I'm happy to be here again for another episode. You know, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about Christmas decorations and how I tend to leave them up for a really long time, and I was all proud because I took them down like right away this year. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I remember it really well, and I have a feeling you're about to tell me that there's still something up in your apartment or something like that.
No, actually, I got everything down and boxed up, but the boxes themselves were hanging out in a corner of my kitchen until yesterday. So, a month and a half passed, and I just now put all my Christmas stuff back in storage.
Well, it's done now, so congratulations on that. I think you're still ahead of the curve, right?
I really don't. I'm ahead of my previous curves.
That's what I meant. It's not a very high bar.
Yeah, you're right. So anyway, now that's out of the way. Welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're on episode 5, and this one is special. In fact, this entire month is special. Today we're talking about rare diseases with an emphasis on the upcoming Rare Disease Day right at the end of the month, February 28th this year. This annual day is an opportunity to focus efforts to bring the community together and facilitate conversations about rare disease in an effort to create a deeper understanding, to strengthen our networks, and to broaden the support. Rare diseases affect so many people, and it's easy to see how it affects the very fabric of the human race. But it's also easy to dismiss rare disease. But let's take a brief look at what rare means and just how big it really is, Kyle.
So at face value, it's called rare disease. And so I think that's why we have a tendency to dismiss it, because it's rare. Like, why should we care? Well, so rare disease is defined as a disease with a population of less than 200,000 here in the U.S. And so, that's pretty rare. Like for us, Sean, Friedreich's ataxia is 1 in 50,000. That's about 5,000 people in the U.S. So that's not very many people. However, there are 7,000 different rare diseases. And when you put all those together, that is 30 million people in the U.S. that have a rare disease. And, now we're talking about numbers. That's 1 in 10 Americans that have a rare disease. And 7,000 diseases, there's a treatment for only a handful of them. And so that's why rare diseases is important to us, and why we think it should be important in general as well. I mean, it affects a lot of people, 30 million people in the U.S. And so that's why we're bringing attention to rare disease with Rare Disease Day coming up on February 28th. Since rare diseases affect so many people, and there's so many different diseases, we find similar situations in other diseases that have similar challenges to our own. And I really think that is the power of the rare disease community, to find those commonalities. Even though we have different diseases, many of our challenges are similar. And when we lean on each other, the load becomes a little less burdensome, and we're able to move forward together. And that's why we're celebrating Rare Disease Day by publishing 5 episodes in the month of February. What do you think about that, Sean?
5 episodes. Well, I'm telling you right now, it's already been a lot of work, and we're just getting started. So, yeah, I'm excited, but it's good. It's a lot of work, but the conversations we've had and what we're going to be producing over the next few weeks, I'm pretty excited about it.
Bring it on.
So, as Kyle mentioned, 5 episodes. We have been and are recording some multiple interviews, and recently we recorded 3 different interviews with 3 different organizations. All of these organizations doing amazing work to benefit all the different people involved in the rare disease communities. Originally, Kyle and I, as we were kind of mapping out our February and Rare Disease Day effort, we thought, you know what, let's reach out to these organizations and see if we can interview a couple, or actually 3. There were 3 specific ones we had our heart set on, and we said, let's do an episode where we feature bits and pieces of the interview. And as Kyle and I sat on the phone with these folks for 30, 40, 50 minutes, we realized just how powerful these conversations were in totality. And we realized each person has a lot of value to offer, and, well, we don't want to shortchange their perspective. So guess what you're getting in February over the next few weeks, as Kyle said, 5 episodes. And to wrap it all up toward the end, we'll have the opportunity to feature the president of the Friedreich's Ataxia Research Alliance and one of our co-founders, Ron Bartek, who works tirelessly not only for the FA community, but also on behalf of the rare disease community as a whole. So again, we'll publish Ron's conversation right at the end of the month, February 27th, the day before Rare Disease Day. So for today, we'll hear a little bit from each of these conversations. You'll hear Nicole Boice, the CEO of Global Genes. We'll also have Max Bronstein of the Everylife Foundation for Rare Diseases, and Paul Melmeyer from NORD, the National Organization for Rare Disorders. What I love about the conversations that Cal and I have, and even what these 3 different folks contributed, there's one common theme for sure, and it's really all about everybody working together and the strength in numbers. Kyle, would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the entire point of Rare Disease Day. That's the entire point of the rare disease community. We can put our own diseases aside for, well, not even really aside, but use those to link us together and all move forward together. For Nicole's interview, that was truly the thread through all of her comments, and she talked a lot about what Global Genes is all about and how she got involved, but really she talked a whole lot about the whole community and how important it is that that we all move forward together. So here's a few comments from Nicole.
And thank you for what you guys are doing. You know, it takes a village, and everyone really plays a really important role together for us to keep building on this, the momentum that has begun. And I think, efforts like this are just really critical. And I know you guys have another question, but just fodder for future webcasts. You brought up a really good point, and we get contacted a lot by families whose doctors won't pursue genetic testing to find a diagnosis, and because there are quote unquote might not be a treatment or a therapy currently in existence for them. And I think that this is a huge problem, because you just hit it on the head. Everything in rare disease is really driven by patients, right? So we need to know, so that we can start taking those steps and be drivers in whatever it is, coordinating community, pursuing disease research. And so I think you brought up a really good point on how incredibly important knowing is. So thank you for saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think of it like a boxing match with the lights turned off. When you don't know what you're fighting against, you can't land punches and you can't move forward. And that's how I think about it. For me, when we were in the dark, when we didn't know what it was that was causing all this stuff to go wrong with my health and in my balance in sports and just getting along in PE and whatever, all that stuff. And once we found out what it was, as hard as that was to take, the lights were switched on and we could start landing punches. We could start moving forward and identifying the ways in which we can start moving forward.
Excellent. I mean, and if I may, that kind of leads into why Global Genes and why we started, because there's no kind of toolbox or roadmap, when you're thrown into this crazy world, and whether you're, a young child with a parent, or a patient yourself, there's a lot of unknowns, and sometimes you have to kind of start everything from scratch, like what we talked about. So really, Global Genes' mission has always been, pretty simple. It's to eliminate the challenges of rare disease. But what we do to help try to eliminate some of those challenges is work to kind of educate. We want to educate this global community and build tools and resources that help you move down that path.
Kyle, I loved your analogy, the whole being able to land punches in the dark, or really the struggle to not be able to not only land punches, but you also can't defend yourself when you're in the dark. And, I really love that analogy, and I actually love the entire conversation. And that right there was just a little piece of the passion and enthusiasm that you're going to hear from Nicole's interview soon over the course of the month. So come back, stay tuned for that one. Next up, we wanted to share a little bit of our conversation with Max Bronstein. He's with the Everylife Foundation. And he talks about how important it is to continue working, especially in the world of policy making. So here's a little excerpt from our conversation with Max.
So, Max, you represent the Everylife Foundation for Rare Diseases. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and maybe the mission and vision of the foundation?
Happy to do that. So our foundation was really started to kickstart and drive innovation in the country for rare disease patients. I think you guys probably know, and many of your listeners know, we have a big innovation gap in this country when it comes to rare disease therapies. So 7,000 treatments and only roughly 300 treatments on the market for those diseases. So we have a long way to go, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done if we ever want to get to the point where we have one treatment for all those diseases, or even multiple treatments for those diseases. And that's what our foundation is set up and designed to do. And the way we actually do that is by engaging on public policy issues and working on regulatory issues. So for me, what that means is going to Capitol Hill, going to Congress, going to the White House, going to the NIH, talking with folks at FDA, and really, looking at what's going on broadly in the system, whether it be policy initiatives coming out of Congress or regulations at FDA, and thinking about, how can we improve the current system we have in this country, and how can we make sure that patients are not falling through the cracks of the system, but are having their voices heard in Congress or at the FDA, and ultimately making sure that their voice is included when big decisions are getting made in DC about policy issues or about how the FDA wants to approve and regulate therapies in the United States.
It's clear that we have so many brilliant people working really hard on this, and the point of this episode was to just kind of get an overview of the rare disease community, a snapshot, if you will. Next up, we have an interview with Paul Melmeyer from the National Organization for Rare Disorders. And Paul really talked a lot about the longevity of NORD. NORD's been around for over 30 years. And he talked a bit about the founders of the organization and how inspired he is to just recognize that story and carry the torch forward, and we all carry the torch together. And so it's an honor just to continue carrying that torch for these founders, for these pioneers in the rare disease community. Here is a little bit from Paul Melmeyer. Rare Disease Day has been around, like you said, since 2008 or 2009. What do you think the change? What do you think? How has Rare Disease Day affected just the way things operate in the rare disease community and the way things get done?
Well, there are various benefits that we see that have arisen because of Rare Disease Day. First of all, it's a great way to simply just introduce yourself to a lawmaker or a doctor or whomever, introduce rare diseases to them. And something we've seen this, I've seen this at the very least within my work, in that I go into a congressional office that I may not have visited before, but they already know about rare diseases because they had a couple advocates visit their office on Rare Disease Day. And this is now happening in the States as well. With State House events that have happened over the course of the last several years, lawmakers are becoming more and more familiar with rare diseases, and there's a lot less unfamiliarity around the cause, and we're gaining a lot more champions in each state. So we're really successfully raising awareness within the policy sphere, at the very least, amongst lawmakers on rare diseases. And we continue to grow as well. The DC event continues to grow. Our reach within the states continue to grow each year. And it's exciting to think about where we could be 5-10 years from now if we continue along this pace, and just the amount of change we can actually make if we continue to grow as we are. So we're very excited about Rare Disease Day. We have viewed it as an unequivocal success, and we look forward to seeing it grow from now on.
With Paul's interview there, he speaks specifically to Rare Disease Day, which is really what this episode and our next few episodes are all about. With Rare Disease Day coming up again February 28th, we wanted to focus and put all of our efforts into helping raise awareness and to promote that day and everything going on in the rare disease space. So hopefully you'll enjoy our episodes over the next couple weeks and find ways for yourself or even friends and family to get involved.
So we wanted to kind of wrap up a little bit with some quotes that really speak to the attitude of the rare disease community and how we all move forward together. The first one is from Ron Bartek, and we're going to have him on an episode at the end of this month. Ron, there's a lot of people that have heard this quote before. Alone, there is little we can accomplish. While together, there is very little we will not accomplish. His founding principle is collaboration, and that quote speaks to it. From the National Organization of Rare Disorders, we have this quote: "Alone we are rare, together we are strong." And I love that. Just brings us all together. And then Global Genes, hope. It's in our genes. And that one can just kind of hit you in the gut sometimes. So love those three quotes. And this episode and all episodes this month, they explored the power of unity and strength in numbers in the rare disease community.
And of course, to find ways you can get involved in Rare Disease Day efforts, we'll feature many links and some information of Rare Disease Day partners or Rare Disease Space partners right here on our website. So visit us at twodisableddudes.com. You'll also find some information on our Facebook page, Two Disabled Dudes. Be sure to find us online and all these different links and ways to get involved in Rare Disease Day efforts. Thanks, Kyle. Have a great day, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. To find this episode and links to some of the stuff we talked about today, find us online at twodisableddudes.com or subscribe on iTunes.
We'd like to hear from you and feature your feedback and questions on future podcasts. Be sure to visit us at twodisableddudes.com to find our contact info and connect on social media.
Special thanks to our audio producer, Jake Tompkins, who also composed the music.
We'll share a new podcast every other week. We hope you'll listen and share it with a friend. Until next time, keep living with urgency.